Hey everybody, welcome back to Let's Talk. I'm your host John, and today here on the channel we're going to be talking about 310 to Yuma and its 2017 4K Blu-ray. But before we get into that 4K Blu-ray review, I just want to let you guys know that this is actually our channel bankroll members choice review for Mr. Smelly Potato. Mr. Smelly Potato, a longtime supporter of the channel. And I guess Mr. Smelly Potato watched my top 10 Westerns on 4K Blu-ray video, because I said in that video one of the only Westerns on 4K Blu-ray that I didn't have was 310 to Yuma. And the reason for that is because when I first saw this film back in 2014, when I was like really getting into Westerns, one of my old favorite podcasts was the Top 10 show, where they counted down a list of top 10 movies. I actually like to follow that format when Dennis and I or David and I do top 10 lists together, like do that show the way they did their show. So I've always been inspired by that. But they did a top 10 Westerns list, which you can watch somewhere here on YouTube. And I just went down their list and watched a bunch of movies and even a bunch of Westerns that they didn't bring up. And one of those Westerns I watched was 310 to Yuma. And it didn't really make a big impression on me at the time. And I actually believe it's my fault. I think because I was watching so many Westerns in such a short amount of time, I wasn't giving my full focus to the actual film because I hadn't gone back to it at all. And it doesn't make sense as to why I did either, because the movie's been very well received. It has two big stars in the lead roles in Russell Crowe and Christian Bale. Christian Bale would obviously work again with James Mangold on movies like Ford vs. Ferrari. So they obviously have a very good working relationship. Russell Crowe has worked in Westerns in the past. Russell Crowe is one of our greatest actors of all time, in my opinion. He doesn't even get the appreciation he deserves, despite the fact that he is an Academy Award winning actor. Him and Christian Bale are also two of the best eye actors, the best facial actors out there. They are very good at portraying their emotions through their faces, and this film is no different for that. It is a Western, so I understand why it doesn't maybe get brought up as much in the pantheon of these guys' careers. Like Christian Bale is obviously one of our most renowned actors. Russell Crowe's kind of on the comeback trail actually a little bit. He kind of like faded in the background there for a little while. Russell Crowe definitely didn't seem like an actor who loved to be famous, but anytime he's in a movie, he is fantastic. And in this movie, his performance, so much of it is just done through his face, and because his character really does get the big arc. Yes, our lead actors both get big arcs in this movie. Dan Evans is played by Christian Bale, a real down on his luck farmer. Unfortunately, everything is just catching up to him at the same time. It's very relatable for the world we live in today. He's in a lot of debt. He's got a disability from when he fought in the Civil War. He fought for the North, even though he wasn't necessarily somebody who was going to fight in the war. It's just that he was part of a group that kind of got sucked up into the war, and then he's got this disability that it's obviously dragging him down. He needs money. The railroad's coming into town, so everything is changing, and he just feels like nothing has gone his way. And then Ben Wade, played by Russell Crowe, he finally gets caught. He's this big-time outlaw running this ruthless gang. He gets caught, and they're like, hey, we got to get him to town. We got to have him stand trial, do it the right way. So we have to get him to the 310 train to Yuma. And now this movie is based on a 1953 short story that eventually got made into a 1957 film. I've actually never seen the 1957 film, so I've only seen this film. But it's like a pretty... And the first thing I thought of while the movie's going on this time around is it's a lot like Midnight Run. These two are stuck together. Instead of being like a bounty hunter like Robert De Niro in Midnight Run, it's just a regular guy who's going to get this money that he feels like he deserves. It's going to really dig his family out of debt. It's like a last desperate move for him, but he's got that courage, and this is something that Ben Wade starts to notice in Christian Bale's character. He starts to respect him and notice that this is a man willing to stand up against everything, even though more than likely he's going to die at the very end of this, because Ben Wade knows his gang. He knows that they are ruthless. They're going to do nothing but to stop him and bring him into justice. But Ben Wade's kind of like starting to getting to know Dan a little bit and getting to know how he is. He notices that he's a father, can relate to him. We see this all in this journey to a town where, the entire third act takes place in this town. They're waiting for the 310 train to Yuma to come, so they're just hanging out, waiting for a little while. And then, of course, that's what leads up to our big third act shootout where everything goes down. Now, I'm going to go full spoilers into the end of this movie, so if you've never seen 310 to Yuma, skip ahead to that 4K Blu-ray review. It'll be marked in the timestamps. I don't want to spoil this for you because the end of this movie is really what sells it to make it a very great Western. Christian Bale looks like he's finally done it. He's going to be bringing him to justice. The 310 is there. Obviously, everybody on board is like, okay, it's a shootout going on outside. Whatever. This happens. It's the Old West. So everything seems like it's going to be going according to plan. Then, of course, unfortunately, Charlie comes along, and that's it. Kills Dan where he stands. And this is finally the breaking moment for Ben Wade, where he's like, okay, I have to finally face the justice that I've had coming to me and face the facts of reality that all the mistakes I've made, I have to finally face them head on and stop running. And he actually kills his entire gang. Kills them all, goes inside, and sits down with everybody on the 310 to Yuma to go face justice for his crimes. You know, it's like a very last-ditch redemption tale, even though we're not necessarily going to be redeeming this character. We just can see that he's finally learned, that he's finally come to accept his fate, and finally come to accept the consequences for his actions. Like, he doesn't feel like he's a good person now. We don't look at him as a good person now, but we just understand that he's finally come to the reality of what actually is going on, and the sins of his past have finally caught up to him, that he'd rather face justice, face it the real way, like a real man. And honestly, it was Dan Evans' character, played by Christian Bale, that led him to finally do that. To see a man like this stand up to everything, as the world has beat the shit out of him, he's still going to come out on top. It's something that's very relatable for a lot of us in this world who have struggled in our day-to-day lives, where it just feels like the world is just kicking the shit out of us. And we just want to stand up to it finally and do something that makes us feel meaningful. Leave that legacy behind. Leave a legacy behind for our kids who might have not respected us at the beginning of the film, but respect who we became, the man who we really are deep down inside. And I just needed that moment. And of course, in doing all this, his family will be set up the rest of their lives, and that is perfect, because that's all he really cares about. He's a selfless man, Christian Bale's character in this film, and I absolutely love 310 to Yuma. On the poster for it, it says the best Western since Unforgiven, and that's from 1992 to 2007. I'm thinking about it, it still might be the best Western since 1992, if you include just only like classic Westerns that take place during like this era. Obviously, No Country for Old Men also came out that very same year, so that movie I consider a Western, and I consider that to be one of the greatest Westerns of all time. Now, this isn't a flawless film. My biggest problem with this movie, despite the fact that it looks great, it's directed well, all the acting is phenomenal, everything sounds amazing. My only issue is that it just feels a little bit too slick. It's got that Hollywood cleanness to it. I would have liked the characters to be a little bit dirtier. Like, it's Christian Bale and Russell Crowe, and these are both very handsome fellas, and they never look like they're operating in the Old West. They just always look a little bit too clean. Mostly Russell Crowe. I mean, he's handcuffed the whole time. Just think about how spaghetti Westerns are. There's a reason why those Sergio Leone Westerns still stand up. It's like, you feel like you're really there. This feels a little bit too Hollywood for me, which has always been my biggest problem with a lot of great Hollywood Westerns, is they're just too cleaned up. But either way, this is a fantastic film that I can highly recommend you check out. And let's talk a little bit about this 4K Blu-ray.
Man, walk them way to that station when nobody else would.
Well, here it is, the Lionsgate 4K Blu-ray that actually came out 8 years ago in 2017. So an early 4K Blu-ray came out from Lionsgate. I've seen this on shelves so many times, never grabbed it. So it was finally nice to finally pick it up, to add it to my Western collection, because I do have pretty much every Western on 4K Blu-ray. It's one of my favorite genres of all time. So I was happy to pick it up, do the review for Mr. Smelly Potato, and it's actually a damn good 4K Blu-ray. I was very surprised. Lionsgate used to always do good 4K Blu-rays, and they've stood the test of time. You can't say that about every 4K Blu-ray. It came with a digital code, it came with a Blu-ray and a 4K Blu-ray. All of your extras are going to be on that Blu-ray, and there are extras aplenty. I was very happy with that. About a 30-minute making of, a few featurettes, the trailers. I really appreciate it. Didn't expect it. This just shows me that, we've gotten lazier and lazier with extras as time has gone on. I knew that when we went from Blu-ray to 4K Blu-ray, but even the early 4K Blu-rays, they pack these things with extras. Now you get like 3 little featurettes from Warner Brothers, and, it's just very disappointing for the extras junkies out there. But we really got spoiled with this one, and I was happy to have it. Just watching them make this movie and getting into the minds of the characters. And it's only a 30-minute making of, but I really love that. We're getting Russell Crowe sitting down talking about how he's made plenty of horse films and plenty of Westerns, so this is like right up his alley. When you see him, you just think of The Quick and the Dead, because like that's kind of like what put him on the map here in the United States. But either way, the extras are awesome. You get a DTS X-Track. Remember those? Yeah, those were really hot in the early days of the 4K Blu-rays, mainly used by Lionsgate and Universal at the time, but now we don't even get them at all. And even Universal's gone out of their way to replace their DTX tracks with, modern day Dolby Atmos tracks. And it's strange because DTS X tracks are actually pretty damn good, and this is a very good DTS X track. It's a pretty action heavy film, especially in the third act, and all the sound effects, all the gunfire sounds really crisp and clear, a lot of bass. Very, very impressed with that. And then of course the visuals. It being an early 4K Blu-ray, there is no Dolby Atmos. It's just HDR10, and I thought it was very good. It didn't blow me away, mainly because the Blu-ray that's actually packed in here is really good as well. It's an early 4K Blu-ray, so it's not something that's going to compare to like a 2025 4K Blu-ray, but in comparing it to like other 2016, 2017, 2018 4K Blu-rays, 4K Blu-rays of the time, I was actually very impressed with it. I would say this is something that would probably fit into like what we were getting in like 2022, 2023. It's still a very good 4K Blu-ray. You could just imagine though a brand new color grading with Dolby Vision would probably look fantastic right now. So maybe they'll redo that. I don't know how popular 310 to Yuma is. And again, the Western genre isn't one of the most popular genres as well. But if you're a fan of Westerns, you should definitely check this one out. And the 4K Blu-ray is pretty damn good. It's usually on sale. I was able to grab it for $17. It probably even drops in price around the holidays to like $10. And at $10, it's an absolute steal. It's better than some 4K Blu-rays that come out now at about $25 to $30, especially like even Universal 4K Blu-rays that came out pretty recently. So I do think that this one is a steal. It's just going to come down to how do you feel about Westerns. If you're not a fan of Westerns, you're probably not going to be sold on 310 to Yuma, even though it does kind of move along in a much brisker pace than, you know, your standard classic Western that your father might have watched or your grandfather. I do think it definitely still has that like modern filmmaking touch to it, just because it's a James Mangold film, and James Mangold is a fantastic director. And of course, when you have two great leads in this movie and plenty of other great actors surrounding them, you're going to end up with a great film. And luckily, this is also a very good 4K Blu-ray. If I was going to give this one a score of 1 to 10, I'm going to give this 4K Blu-ray a pretty damn solid 8 out of 10. So thank you, Mr. Smelly Potato, for making me watch this film finally again, and I truly did fall in love with it. It is a fantastic Western that I can recommend to the Western fans out there. But also, if you guys want to become a friend of the channel, a producer for the channel like John Doe Juggalo, Ben Rondo, and Harvey Scott, you can do that. You can even become a channel director like Frank from Frank's Media and Reviews, Nicholas Head, Uncle V, Stone Gasman, and Kevin Kruger. Or if you want to become a channel bankroll member like Mr. Smelly Potato, you can do that as well. But of course, guys, no pressure at all. I just hope you enjoyed the video, so make sure you throw a like, share, and subscribe, and tell your friends about us.